What's up, everybody? It's your girl Ericka from the Classic Line Blog. I'm here in North Carolina, and I just had to do this video. I literally spent the time I was at the airport kind of wasting time. I had to book a flight for one of our drivers to come in and pick up a truck. But what I end up kind of learning and appreciating is the fact that people are believing in their, and Glendon says it very well, fake Glendon Cameron. A fake middle class. This is what it is. It's a fake middle class. It does not exist for a lot of people. And there was an article, and I'll be doing a whole video on it, a bigger video than this, where a mom clearly is divorced, but she's not letting that on in the article, is struggling to pay for things, struggling to pay for doctor appointments, struggling to pay for the car, struggling to do all these things. She's like, how come the middle class is struggling? And you really want to tell her, you're not middle class. You're working class. So I repeatedly throw link after link into the Facebook chat about, if you make 44,000, it says extreme poverty in California. If you make 38,000 certain areas, yeah, you're low income, but you can qualify for HUD housing. And people were mind blown in the thing. Now I'm gonna pull this all up on the screen in a separate video, but literally you see step by step where I keep showing data point after data point after data point that's poverty. And people are like, no, 40K to 125K is middle class. And I literally say, no, 85,000 to 135,000 is middle class. And later this lady brings out a graph, which makes it even more funny. She brings out a graph and it basically says what I'm saying. It says this is middle, this is upper middle class, and this is lower middle class. And I go, you know what, in America, we don't use the word working class, but that's what lower middle class is, working class. And we don't use the word extreme poverty, but we should. There's multiple categories of multiple levels of poverty. And the reason why we have so many people struggling in America, getting cars they can't afford, getting houses they can't afford, like maxed out on all their credit cards, is they will not properly identify themselves. People think, oh, I went to college, I did this, I did that, or I work in this office, I would put on a button-up shirt. Now you could be, I meet people every day dressed up and they're going to a call center. Now there's some call centers that pay you $11 an hour and there's some call centers that pay you $20 an hour. But 9 times out of 10, it's $11 to $14 an hour. You are not middle class. You are working class. Now, I may alienate a lot of you by doing this video, and I'm okay with that. I just am. I'm at that point in this time of my YouTube career and life that I'm okay with that. Many people on YouTube are talking about, well, Ericka, all the women I know are getting pregnant and children out of wedlock and living these horrible lives. And I keep pointing out who you know. Have you drove into other neighborhoods? Have you seen other places to live? Have you moved to other cities? 99% of the time, these men and women who are on the internet telling you everything's falling apart outside have never lived in more than one city. 88% of all Americans live within an hour or 60 miles of their mother. So when someone sits here and argue with you on the internet that, this is not poor and this is working class and oh, of course, California is outrageous, but they've never lived anywhere else. They've never traveled anywhere else. They can't argue with you and they can't argue with facts. They're totally deep in emotion. And the problem with that is they're misidentifying where they need to be. A lot of these people need to be doing something different. A lot of these people need to be working a part-time job. A lot of these people need to change their career. A lot of these people need to get an associate degree or get some different type of skill. But because they're in a delusion that they're still middle class. I'm middle class. I don't have to do that. I don't understand why things are so expensive. Middle class still comes down to money. Yes, you're going to say, Ericka, what about the show Blue Collar Millionaires? The reason the show Blue Collar Millionaires exists is because so many people look at truck drivers a certain way, or people who own plumbing companies and AC companies a certain way. Even though those guys have a blue collar skill, they are millionaires. And I remember I had a group of friends I was going to introduce to another group of friends, and they kind of were like, oh, we don't want to meet them if they're work over there, right? It was a particular job I had at the time. And I laughed because I wanted to go, sir, you're barely in the middle class. Yes, you're an engineer, but you have no investments. You live in an apartment. You don't have any money saved up. You can't be that picky about what group of people you're going to hang out with because you're not that far up. And that's the thing. You can dilute yourself, if you put all your group of friends, and I've said this in several videos, all my friends go to a very wealthy church. There's a couple different wealthy churches in Austin. The people at those wealthy churches have 4 and 5 kids, because 9 times out of 10 their husband's an engineer or someone a vice president or in management of companies, and they do very well in a very expensive city. And so when I tell you there's people living differently, I don't just say that because, oh, that's my experience. I say that because I'm a military kid. I've lived in Alaska. I lived overseas. My father was born in Japan. They lived overseas for a while. And even now you have black people saying, so what? Your family was in the military. You know, I know a lot of military people. They never leave the base. This is hater ass talking. This is delusional hater speech for, I've never been anywhere. I've never lived in another city. So what? You live somewhere else. You don't know anything. And this is delusion. This is delusion talking. This is people who've never moved out of their city telling you they know about the world. Please don't do this. Please don't take this advice. Now, I may be biased in this channel, but I want you to be truthful with yourself. If you know where you are at the current time, you can make adjustments and turn as needed. So many people are making a decision based on, you know, they live 20 minutes away from their mom and I'm doing better than my mom. Look at my house, look at my car. And if they move out of that, anywhere outside of that city, they will struggle and be in poverty. So if anything, I understand why people are scared to invest out of state. I understand why people are scared to invest in businesses, because they haven't gone anywhere. They haven't done anything different. How can you invest in something you don't know about? You've never experienced, you've never seen. Okay? So look, I say all that to say is, look, I'm starting to agree. We have a fake middle class that's really juiced up on credit cards, and they refuse to turn their head until it's too late. They're out here writing articles about how the middle class is being squeezed, and the truth is, I keep recommending to you over and over the book, Average is Over, because either you're going to do what middle class people do, which is have investments that pay you income producing assets, not just a 401k, not just a savings account, because saving is not investing. Check the video out for that. But actual investments that pay you. And see, that's where the rubber meets the road. A lot of these people want to make a lot of money at a job, but then don't want to have to manage investments. Somebody else do that. I don't want to pay attention to it, because that requires responsibility. It's just what it is. And so if you see these people on the internet hollering and yelling about everybody's in poverty and having children out of wedlock, the numbers just don't support that. Overall in the United States, the childbirth rates are just going absolutely through the floor. They're bottoming out. The people who are having children, data after data shows highly religious, which means Muslim, which means Mormon, which means Christian, evangelicals having 3 to 4 or 5 children. Why? Because it's a financial status thing, and that's not just in New York with Hasidic Jews. That's over the United States. It's the Chip and Joanna gang story. The reason it's so popular is because people are aspiring to that. A house with a little bit of land, 4, 5, 6 kids, and some type of business that funds that. That's why that show took off so much, because people realize, man, they can do it. They don't seem so bright. I can do it too. Now look at Chip and Joanna Gaines. They still, their business, even though they have 100 employees, they still invested in what? Other businesses. Not just real estate, not just land, other businesses. So we could go all day and all night about this, but I just want you guys to realize, when you're arguing with people, see where they're from, what is their life experience. Some of these people are telling you something from their just walking the block all their life and seeing the same girls from high school get pregnant and think that's what's happening all over the world. It's just not. It's just not. And how do things change? Let's be really honest. Money, marriage, and education. That's it. And I don't mean college degrees. I mean certifications. I mean skilled labor. And something I've been bringing up a lot is the fact that I've seen a lot of construction sites. I've seen a lot of black workers at all the construction sites in Texas, at all these skilled labor pools in Texas. I was in North Carolina, which I'm still in here. I drove around and saw 3 or 4 construction sites full of all black workers, 15 guys and 2 Hispanic guys. The tide is turning on that, because people don't want to be holding the cookie jar of illegal aliens or workers who don't have social security cards when companies and cities and states are punishing them. That's all that is. So say what you will, you may not like the current administration, but people are starting to get back to work. Not only studies are showing single moms are going back to work at a high number, also a lot of African Americans are going back to work at a high number. Because inflation, you know, this coasting, this fake ass middle class coasting, it's over. It's over. You're gonna have to actually produce results or downsize your life. Downsize your life. And that's what people are coming up against. They're having to downsize their life. So this overall video is just fake middle class and downsizing your life. Later, you guys.